as a conservative, it made me a bit uneasy, and a lot of common sense conservatives looked at that fund and they said, okay, this is an oddly arbitrary yet specific $1.776 billion that basically asks taxpayers to refund alleged victims of the government over the past. And the other problem is that it wasn't congressionally authorized, which is, in essence, that's a problem for checks and balances and separation of powers. But the accusations that this was meant for January 6th rioters or cronies of the president and his allies, well, not necessarily just that, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that there were no victims of the Biden administration, because there were, whether it was parents who were branded as domestic terrorists by the FBI, probed, prosecuted potentially for protesting radical curricula in the classroom, or traditionalist Catholics who were targeted by the FBI for simply having orthodox views.
Welcome back to the channel. Before we get started, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Today, we're discussing the controversy surrounding the proposed $1.776 billion fund that has sparked intense debate among Republicans and the Trump administration. Let's take a look at what happened and why it matters.
On their religion, those who are praying silently. There's a lot of potential victims who could ask for recourse from the federal government. And there's something called a judgment fund, which is what this was derived from. And that goes back to early founding America. So I agree that the price tag is exorbitant. And the fact that it sunsets in 2028 is suspicious, right? Because it's right as Trump is on the way out, which doesn't pass the smell test. But there are victims of the last administration who, they deserve recourse. They deserve potentially some sort of appeal. And maybe that's not reparations.
Can I address that? I feel like the sidestep into the Biden administration, it's not a functional equivalent. I mean, this is where Americans, this is so easy for you not to do that. I'm not to pick on you, but these people beat up people, killed people, and beat up cops. What this is loyalty as an asset class. What this is the founding fathers were concerned that the king would sort of just, go run amok and use anything he could in order to control. What you have here, this isn't derived from the judgment fund because it's a political narrative fund. And it's weaponization, and where does it end? So then it's like, oh, I'm a victim of media misinformation. I want some money, okay? It also incentivizes people to commit crimes. So, I can appreciate your point of view, but we don't always have to try to find the functional equivalent. And this is pretty black and white. Where we are now with criminals they used to leave our judicial system and get back on the street with probation. Now they leave with a 401k.
Or your party just gives them back into the community because they have cashless bail, letting criminals go back and forth, terrorize communities.
The conservatives do as well.
In this city.
It's the system, but that's a broader system that we can fix. And
who's fixing
this is just doling out money.
Not your party.
This fund doesn't even have someone to monitor it.
To go to your overall point, you call it clever. I don't think it's clever. I think it's redressing a problem that was unprecedented. You have a situation.
The part that I said was clever was Trump suing his own government and having his own appointed Justice Department determining whether or not to actually oppose a lawsuit against the IRS or just drop the case so that he can get $1.8 billion.
We had the former Department of Justice under President Biden go after the leading candidate for president on the opposite side, who then happened to win in a landslide victory, who then oversees
after him for what, Harrison?
The Department of Justice.
What was he gone after for?
And who's the president of the United States
What
today?
was he?
Did anything
in
stick?
your words,
did anything stick?
No, just let me ask you. What was President Trump prosecuted
You spent show after show
why won't you answer the question?
We all know what the charges were, but we all know.
Why would you just won't say it?
It was BS. It was weaponization to the 10th degree.
But you can't just call it weaponization. Insane. You won't even say what it was.
We all know what the charges were. We all know what the BS charges were. It was political retribution. It was political prosecution.
First of all,
the likes of which that the American people said absolutely not. Not in America.
What was former President Trump at the time investigated for?
We all know what the FBI did to his home. We all know.
I think it's very telling.
We all know what the Department of Justice did. And the American people said absolutely not.
Hold on a second, Tara. It's very telling that you won't even name the thing because it's important what the actual substance of it is.
It's important
You
to know
can't
that he's
just
the president of the
claim-
United States, and there was
you
no
can't just
charges that
claim
ever
that
stood.
just
This is why he's there
because
today.
the investigation existed, that it is by definition political targeting. There was a
was.
reason he was investigated. It didn't,
Anyone-
and you know what? It really didn't have to be that way. He was given on the documents cases. He was given
Which was
many
thrown out.
opportunities.
Which was thrown out.
He was given many
Which was thrown
opportunities
out.
to rectify that before it got to that stage. And on
so we
January,
attacked
and
the judge
Harrison,
now.
just a second, on January 6th, your favorite
day
it was
of the
actually
year.
the Republican Party
Yeah, it's an
Okay,
who
important
said,
day of the year.
hold on a second.
Just
Can you let me finish? Can you let me finish my thought?
It's not.
On January 6th,
January
it was the
6th.
Republican Party who said that a criminal case against Trump was the way to hold him accountable. You know who said that? Mitch McConnell on the Senate floor.
Okay.
So now Trump goes and pardons a bunch of people who were responsible for violence on January 6th. Those people now are eligible for this fund. Many of them say they want tens of
This debate started when Republicans began questioning the purpose and size of the proposed $1.726 billion fund. Many lawmakers argued that such a large amount of money required stronger oversight and clearer explanations about how it would be used. As criticism grew, the administration found itself under increasing pressure from members of its own party. In response, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche told lawmakers that the administration was not moving forward with the fund. For many observers, that appeared to be a major retreat and a sign that the White House was backing away from a politically damaging proposal. However, the story took another turn when Donald Trump publicly defended the fund. Instead of agreeing that it was finished, Trump described it as a beautiful thing and declined to clearly say whether it had been permanently abandoned. Those comments immediately sparked more debate because they seemed to conflict with the message being delivered by administration officials. The disagreement has become about more than just one funding proposal. It has turned into a larger conversation about government accountability, spending priorities, and the growing divisions within the Republican Party over how certain policies should be
millions of dollars from the federal government in exchange for their prosecution, their trial by jury, their conviction, all of that. They want tens of millions of dollars from taxpayers. And even Republicans say this stinks to the high heavens.
I actually kind of respect Republicans, some Republicans, and I heard it a little bit in your voice for saying a little bit of that, sticking to what they consider to be those fiscal conservative roots.
handled.
But, I mean, it just it
Supporters
all speaks
argue
of
that
what
the
America
proposal
knows
was
about
intended to
President Trump,
address
which is that he has
concerns
been the
about
most
government
corrupt president that
weaponization,
America has ever
while
had.
critics believe it raised too many
look like
questions
that and
about
look just like the
transparency
data say
and
so.
oversight.
What data point?
Yes, polling data. I'm a pollster. We poll on these
polling
things.
data,
Yes,
subjective
yes.
polling data.
No, that's
Got
not.
Give him specifics of data points that you raised.
He's the one that mentioned the data.
How about that?
54% of America think that President Trump is corrupt, and that is from a survey of national
And
survey
what was the
of
polling on the
adults.
Biden family?
It was much lower. It was, I think it
Okay.
was, yeah, I think it was like 47%.
Did you not
And
listen to the
before
oversight
that-
hearings?
Okay.
The
well,
web of LLCs?
Biden's not in power anymore.
either
Let's
way.
focus on
So we're
Trump.
going to ignore what just happened before
Well,
the last 4 years.
let me just put it this way. We'll get just,
Wouldn't
I'm going to
be
just
so
stop it for a second because
controversial.
we just can't hear between the two of you yelling at each other. I just want to ask you a pretty straightforward question. This is getting to her point about the impact of that day on real Americans and on law
was there.
enforcement.
Were you there?
Do you acknowledge that on January 6th, Capitol police officers were assaulted and brutalized by the rioters who were there that
I
day?
acknowledge that it was a terrible day for our nation's history. What
Do you-
happened?
that's not the question that I asked you. Do you-
Yes.
Okay. So you
That did
acknowledge
Why
that,
is it
that
so
law
hard?
that law
Why is
enforcement
it so
officers.
hard for you?
No, hold on a
Why
second.
is it so hard?
One,
for you?
one
Do you not
second. Let's
acknowledge
just
the
get
fact
through
that
this.
This is
So
happening
the
every
answer
day
is
in America against
the
ICE
answer-
agents, against
So-
NYPD
so,
officers,
hey, all
and
I'm
you guys
asking-
completely ignore
Harrison,
it.
hey, all I'm asking
someone who
is that if
defends cops
you
every
care
single day of
about
my
law
life.
enforcement officers who are ICE officers, who are beat cops, you should also care about
The same
Capitol
is true
police
for you,
officers
you,
whose
you,
lives
and you.
were forever
And I'm
changed.
just asking for,
I think that's the
it's a
same.
double
It's true for
standard.
you.
When
It
was
is
the
true
last
for
time
everybody
you
at this
cared,
table.
Talked about the brutality against our ICE
Hold on a
agents
second.
or men and women in law enforcement.
We talk about it
You
all the
don't talk
time on
about
this
it.
show. The White House appears to be backing off from one of the president's most controversial moves yet, the creation of this $1.8 billion slush fund. Do you think that they are really going to back down given the threats from Republicans?
Right. Well, for the better part of a year and a half, a lot of people in Washington have been wondering what would Trump have to do that GOP senators would speak out against him. We figured it out finally. He would have to ask them to support using taxpayer money to pay the people who attacked them. That's what he asked them to do, to help pay the people who attacked them. And that was a bridge too far. But the reason that they're still not assured that this is a dead deal is because they know why he's really backing down. It's not the egregiousness and brazenness of the self-dealing. It's the timing. We're in the primaries. Right now is when Republicans need to worry about scandal. Right now is when they need to.
Law enforcement is for the president to do away with the weaponization fund. John Kennedy from Louisiana says, if the administration has changed its position on the weaponization fund, it should say so definitively. You're not talking to Bambi's baby brother here. You're saying you're going to follow the court order doesn't tell me anything. You have to follow the court order anyway. Lisa Murkowski says, well, if it means it's completely pulled, then that would satisfy me. But I haven't heard anybody say that is actually what is happening. Are they trying to pull the wool over the eyes of Republicans?
I wish you read that Kennedy quote in Kennedy's accent because
he could have
done that.
It would have taken too long.
In such a way.
It would have taken the whole show.
I would have applied it here.
Look,
you get the idea.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a certain obviousness to what has happened, right? This is a political hot potato. It was passed around the table. It got in the Senate's hands, and it burns, right? And like you said, the primaries are coming up. The general elections are only 5 months away. This was not a popular thing with the public. It was perhaps popular with the base. It doesn't negate the fact that there has been weaponization of the Justice Department, whether you're a Republican or not. And we've seen Democrats make the case that people like James Comey and others have had the Justice Department weaponized against them.
I don't think they're going to get the payout.
My point is, it exists, and Democrats agree with me.
Yeah, the other way.
The issue is, how can those affected by this still recover damages from the government? And there's legal methods for them to do that. And if they feel that way, they should avail themselves of those.
Right. There's already ways for people who have been wronged without creating a slush fund based on taxpayer money to pay off rioters. People who were mounted an insurrection against our own country.
We don't know it was January 6 rioters. No one except for
the January 6 rioters.
We were on the show 2 weeks ago.
They were about to get paid for some reason. Where did they get that idea?
Enrique Tarrio says, you actually think President Trump is going to surrender this? The president himself produced a special counsel report on Joe Biden, but also investigated the president's son. So, I mean, you can say it's been weaponized all you want, but it's been weaponized apparently against the president by his own Justice Department and toward his own family. What?
I'm asking if it can't be
all I'm
weaponized.
saying, listen, all I'm saying, Jason, hold on, Jason, all I'm saying is that the only evidence that we have is that there's one administration that was willing to investigate itself, and there's another one that has said that we don't do that here because we work for one guy. And that's a big difference of perspective when it comes to administrations. I'm not saying the Justice Department can't be weaponized. We know that. We lived through the civil rights era. But you have to have proof. You can't just say every investigation is weaponized. I mean, that's
I'm not saying every investigation is weaponized.
Audits are for a time period way before he had entered politics as a presidential candidate.
What makes this story particularly interesting is the mixed messaging coming from different parts of the administration. On one hand, officials are telling Congress that the fund is dead. On the other hand, Trump continues to speak positively about the idea and leaves open the possibility that it could return in some form in the future. As a result, the controversy is unlikely to disappear anytime soon. The debate has exposed disagreements within Republican ranks and has given critics another issue to focus on as political battles continue in Washington. Now it's your turn. Do you think Republicans were right to push back against the $1.776 billion fund, or do you believe the administration should have continued with the proposal? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.